When a new threat emerges wearing a familiar face, it will be up to Bucky Barnes and a newly assembled team to battle against it. But this won't just be a job for any old group of Avengers. Oh no, this calls for the new Avengers. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into issue number 1, courtesy of Sam Humphries, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, the first couple pages of this book actually do an excellent job letting us know that these events are taking place right now in the current Marvel timeline, by which I mean the world is still living under Doctor Doom. We see Bucky hanging out with an old man by the name of Earl. Apparently they've been trading stories and life advice for a while right now. Too bad Earl has actively been snitching on his friends and neighbors all McCarthy style to the new Doom regime. And what did he get in return? Some cheaper gas. I mean, it could have been the price of eggs, eh? Bucky's not going to kill this guy, but he is going to make a massive example out of him, blowing up his entire pump operation. Apparently, Bucky's been doing this sort of thing all over the country right now, and his actions have ended up catching the eyes of Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, who puts a gun in his face. In fact, in a nice bit of continuity, she actually refers to him as the Revolution, the name he had in the Lanzig and Kelly stories, only for him to go, nah, I'm back to being Winter Soldier. The Revolution belongs to everyone now. Again, I love that touch because I loved those stories. Winter Soldier and Black Widow's reunion ends up taking a very spicy turn after that, as they both end up in bed, and I mean, I guess it makes sense. I forget these two have basically been on and off lovers forever. Though, surprise, surprise, Natasha has ulterior motives for coming here today and not just doing the horizontal hula. She's got some very good intel on some disturbing things happening in the Russian countryside, and I mean, does anything not disturbing happen in the Russian countryside? Apparently a bunch of very expensive and very high-tech cloning machines have found their way to a remote logging site. Black Widow thinks that they should assemble a team to deal with the problem, but Bucky obviously is a little reticent when you stop and consider that the last several teams he's been a part of, including 2 different incarnations of the Thunderbolts, all got cancelled, fell apart from under him. Yes, that's right everyone, this first issue has some fun metatextual stuff going on, and I dig it. Bucky only agrees to the mission when he finds out that 200 people from the surrounding villages have all gone missing, and there's a good chance that this new team will be their only hope. But who's on this team besides just Bucky and Natasha? Well, their first recruit is actually none other than Laura Kinney, aka Wolverine. Her and Winter Soldier had actually just met in her own current ongoing series. At first, she almost turned him down, figuring that this was going to be a more professional Avengers-style group, wherein her more bloodthirsty, snicky tendencies might end up getting her looked down upon and being the odd woman out. Thankfully, though, Bucky says this isn't that kind of group. This one's gonna have some edge, some skeletons in the closet, and plenty of problems to go around. Also, it just hits me now, too, we have 2 clones on the team. The clone of Wolverine and technically the clone of the original Black Widow. Does anyone else remember that she's a clone? Or does she still only know that? I bring it up because it might actually end up being important down the line. Together, the trio managed to rescue all of the villagers who they learn in short order have been subjected to some truly horrifying, truly dehumanizing experiments, which again, considering we're dealing with Wolverine, Winter Soldier, and Natasha, they can all relate. The team fight their way into the inner sanctum of the building, where they end up discovering a massive high-tech cloning operation complete with 7 individual caskets. Who on earth is running an operation like this? Well, if you're like me, you'll be very surprised to discover it's actually none other than the Jackal. Bucky even makes a good crack about, hey, don't mention this guy's name around Spider-Man. He also notes that him being here and now is a little out of character. This guy normally lives in sewers and, as I mentioned previously, spends his time bedeviling Spider-Man. Someone out there has clearly set him up and spared absolutely no expense for the Jackal's next masterpiece. But before he can end up explaining in more detail, the next member of the new Avengers ends up making the scene and knocking the crap out of him. Of course, I'm talking about Namor the Submariner, King of Atlantis. Makes a lot of sense, him being here. After all, Bucky has known him since World War II when they were invaders together. In fact, Namor's only real condition for joining the team is that this not be another Thunderbolts. He is of royal blood, and as such, he deserves to be an Avenger, damn it. Now, while the Jackal is down, it's too late. The pods end up opening, and we are introduced to our brand new villains for this series. They're called the Killuminati. And if you couldn't already tell, they're twisted, nightmarish versions of the Illuminati with fun names like Bolt, Guru, Strange, Empress Rex, and Iron Ape apex. These guys might be clones, but they already proved to be incredibly powerful and resourceful. In fact, Guru Strange is actually able to reach out through the magical nexus and catch the attention of Clea, aka former Doctor Strange and lover of Stephen Strange. She'll be joining the team too, just not in this issue. Namor manages to grab Jackal and tries to threaten him into calling off his dogs. However, his experiments, as they often do, end up turning on him and completely vaporizing him into pure nothingness. But which clone would be powerful enough to do something like that? Oh, you know, just the clone of Black Bolt, who, as we know, doesn't speak because his voice could destroy an entire planet, and as the comic ends, he ends up letting our heroes have it by letting out a massive guttural scream. And so that was New Avengers issue number 1, everybody, and I gotta say, this one really managed to hook me right away. I really appreciate the self-awareness and meta-humor that Sam Humphries is able to infuse the story with. It's like everyone is saying, yeah, we know we've tried different teams with Winter Soldier before and it's never worked out, but this isn't just another Thunderbolts team. This is a full-fledged New Avengers team, one that actually does have a little bit more edge to it by having heroes with some darker backstories and more macabre powers. And yes, there's also a little synergy going on between this book and the Thunderbolts movie, which also became New Avengers. But honestly, you know what? That doesn't really bother me, as we've seen time and time again. These Marvel books usually sink or swim under their own power. Sometimes you get a great Moon Knight or an all-time great Venom book just because of synergy, and here's hoping this book ends up becoming one of those. Lord knows I'm pretty burnt out on the mainline Avenger book right now. It's just too big and just too much. I appreciate this New Avengers book being smaller, more personal, and more direct. The lineup is also pretty solid too. Like I said, we got multiple clones, multiple victims of military experimentation, and even some monsters, aliens, and magicians waiting in the wings. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving all of this an 8 out of 10. I'm excited to see where the book goes from here, and it's definitely joining my long box. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, you know, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.